Every single man and woman that's out here on these lines are absolutely dedicated. Yes, it's brutal, dirty, nasty work, but it has to be done. We're going to be here until it's done.
All right, it is Wednesday, December 6th, and a Fox News alert breaking overnight. Massive wildfires burning out of control in California. We are live on the ground as thousands of people rush to escape massive flames pushed by very fierce winds. President Trump making good on another campaign promise, preparing to officially move the American embassy in Israel to Jerusalem. It's a controversial move. The reaction is pouring in from around the world. And deck the halls with Hillary Clinton, the Christmas tree topper, turning heads this morning. We'll talk about that. Fox and Friends First continues right now. Country to get you started this morning, and we got a lot of lights here in the Rockefeller Center area here in Midtown Manhattan as Christmas season is here. A nice morning here. Good morning to you. You're watching Fox and Friends First on this Wednesday morning. I'm Rob Schmidt, and straight to a Fox News alert. Right now, firefighters racing against the clock as massive wind-fueled wildfires spark major destruction across California. These raging flames forcing more than 150,000 people to leave everything behind. Another major fire event happening in California, and Jonathan Hunt is live in Ventura, just north of Los Angeles, where the evacuation zone widened overnight. Jonathan.
Rob, good morning. It may be a nice morning in New York. It is anything but in this part of Southern California. I've been using since we arrived here yesterday the word apocalyptic to describe these scenes, and it is certainly that. I want to show you this haunting image, just the facade left of this building, and this is one of hundreds of destructions completely and utterly destroyed in the city of Ventura. This is the kind of scene that so many families just a couple of weeks before Christmas are going to have to come back, find, and deal with in the next few days when they are eventually let back in here. And right now, that is anybody's guess, because these flames continue to burn out of control. 0% containment on this fire right now. It is beginning to move further west. That is good news in the sense that that is a slightly less populated area. The other good news this morning for firefighters is that the winds have come down a great deal. That will obviously help them, but they are expected to come up again later today. Those warm Santa Ana winds, which are so dangerous in the bone-dry conditions that we have here. It's not just here in Ventura as well. There is also a raging wildfire north of Los Angeles around the Sylmar area. That's burned 11,000 acres and some 30 homes. A long, hard road ahead for so many heroic firefighters, Rob.
Well, we have all the vegetation from a very wet winter, and then the LA Times reporting the worst Santa Ana winds in about 10 years, a devastating combination. All right, thank you so much for that, Jonathan. We appreciate it. All right, happening today, President Trump expected to make good on another campaign promise, set to announce that the United States will officially recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Griff Jenkins is live in Washington this morning. Griff, this decision is very controversial and a lot of backlash already from this, right?
That's right. The move's already inflaming passions, Rob. Good morning. Let me set the stage here. Like many presidents before him, from George Bush to Barack Obama, we heard campaign promises like this.
As soon as I take office, I will begin the process of moving the United States ambassador to the city of Israel, as chosen as its capital.
Jerusalem will remain the capital of Israel, and it must remain undivided.
We will move the American embassy to the eternal capital of the Jewish people, Jerusalem.
At 1 p.m. today, President Trump will follow through on that promise, recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and directing the State Department to begin the multi-year process of moving the U.S. Embassy there from Tel Aviv. Already in Bethlehem, flags with President Trump's image are burning as potential for protests rise. U.S. consulate in Jerusalem issuing a security warning on Twitter for U.S. citizens, directing them to avoid the old city and West Bank. The move clearly angering Palestinians who want Jerusalem as their capital as well. President Mahmoud Abbas warning in this statement, quote, such a move will have detrimental consequences on the peace process and the prospects for the internationally endorsed two-state solutions. Allies across the Muslim world also warning of serious consequences. Turkish President Erdogan threatening to break off relations with Israel.
Our struggle on this matter will continue with resolve. As a matter of fact, this can go as far as breaking off our diplomatic relations with Israel.
Now, U.S. Marine fast teams have been deployed across the Middle East to U.S. embassies, anticipating further reaction, Rob, as many questions are being raised now about the impact of this move.
Yeah, no kidding. A very bold move by the president this morning. All right, thank you so much, Griff. And a Fox News alert, U.S. bombers flying in South Korea, the latest show of force after a powerful missile test from the north. Korean media reporting that the planes are joining the current week-long military drill, the largest joint exercise ever with South Korea. In response, China has staged its own drills, saying they are warning to the U.S. that China will uphold the balance of power. North Korea claims its latest failed missile test could threaten the entire U.S. mainland if they can get it to re-enter the atmosphere, that is. An assassination plot against a major world leader has been foiled, and the suspects are set to appear in court. British authorities arresting 2 men accused of planning a radical Islamic terror attack targeting the Prime Minister of England, Theresa May. They allegedly planned to set off a bomb at the security gate right outside of her office and then attack her with a knife. 9 attacks have reportedly been thwarted in the UK this year. This was a big one. Democrats have been calling for his impeachment since day one.
I will fight every day until he is impeached.
ImpeachDonaldTrumpNow.com.
All right, now House Democrat Al Green, you just saw there, is vowing to force a vote to impeach President Trump today. The Texas congressman is among a handful of liberals who have spent months trying to get the president out of office, but the effort expected to fail as Republicans do control the House. Get her out. Nancy Pelosi's fellow Democrats turning on her, calling for her to step down after her muddled response to John Conyers' harassment allegations.
I've been calling for our leader to step down and to allow a new generation of leaders to step up and lead our party forward for a long time.
Well, you may recall Pelosi called Conyers an icon. Despite an avalanche of sexual misconduct allegations against him from staffers, Conyers now says he is retiring. Meanwhile, President Trump coming face-to-face with small business owners that he says will benefit from his tax reform plan. He hosted them and their families at the White House to discuss how tax reform and dropping taxes will help bring jobs back to America.
We have 4 great families, middle class. I guess at a certain point you're going to be making so much money, you know, really not going to know what to do with it.
The president also meeting with GOP leaders at a luncheon, urging them to pass their final version of the bill before the December 22nd deadline, trying to get it all in before Christmas. Fox News contributor Newt Gingrich confident that Republicans will get tax reform done before Christmas Day. And he would know, as Speaker of the House during the Clinton administration, the economy boomed.
The Republican gamble is very straightforward. If you stimulate the economy, if you encourage small business, if you give tax cuts to the middle class, can you get so much economic growth that you begin to move America back on a track where the sheer size of the revenue stream begins to pay down the debt? We did it in the 90s. I'm the only speaker in modern history to author 4 straight balanced budgets. We know it can work because it did work. I think Paul Ryan has the same goal, and I think that President Trump has that goal. It'll take 5 or 6 years. But if this economy starts to roar, you're going to see a flood of money come in, and you're going to see, because the economy's bigger, not because we raised taxes, but because we created jobs.
All right, we do have to talk some weather this morning. Unfortunately, not good news either. The situation, Janice, in California today, we're seeing another round of very dangerous fires, right?
Yeah, and the weather is not going to cooperate, Rob. Unfortunately, low relative humidity in this area, no moisture getting in. So here's the relative humidity forecast. You can see very low relative humidity, and the problem is those Santa Ana winds are going to remain in place not only today but through Friday. So take a look. We have elevated fire danger, red flag warnings in the areas where the fires are are out of control and burning right now in Southern California. And when we talk about those Santa Ana winds, it's basically an area of high pressure where the clockwise winds funnel through those canyons and valleys, drying the winds out, very fast winds because of that tight pressure gradients and the increased winds. And that is going to be ongoing at least until Friday, Rob. So we're going to be watching that area. Of course, the rest of the country, cold air moving in towards the East Coast, 24-hour temperature change, 15-degree difference in Memphis than it was this time yesterday. And then the cold air this weekend could bring a little bit of snow across the East Coast. Back to you.
And we're just hoping those winds do die down out there in California.
Very dangerous.
That is a very dangerous situation. Janice, thank you so much.
Okay.
10 minutes after the hour, brand new numbers just in, proving that President Trump is working to make good on one of his most coveted campaign promises.
We have some bad hombres here. We're getting gang members out. We're getting drug lords out. We're getting really bad dudes out of this country.
Our next guest is a former Border Patrol agent who says the numbers are about to get even better. Also, never Trumper, former Republican Senator Jeff Flake, or current one actually, turning his back on his own party to support the Democrat who is challenging Roy Moore in the Alabama Senate race. So is he really putting the country over party? We'll talk about that. And have you sent a text message with an emoji lately? We're going to explain how this could land you in jail, believe it or not. Stay tuned. Okay, welcome back. The Trump administration just beginning physical testing on the southwest border, the wall prototypes this week. This as brand new numbers prove that the president is making good on a campaign promise to crack down on illegal immigration. Border arrests plunging to a 45-year low as deportation arrests soar to new records. And here to weigh in on what all this means is former ICE agent and Border Patrol officer David Ward. Thank you, sir, for coming on this morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. And we're going to start off with just some information here. Here are the numbers for ICE arrests from this year so far. 143,470 ICE arrests. That's immigration arrests. 226,000 deportations at this point. Now, these numbers indicate a trend upward. That means that we are moving more illegal immigrants out of the country. Isn't that right?
Well, yes. What we have to be cautious of is the numbers of the crossings coming across the southern border. They did drop precipitously in the beginning of the year when President Trump took office. However, right around June, the numbers are starting to creep up. And more apprehensions are being made by the Border Patrol. Now, ICE is doing a superb job on the interior, but again, they need more assistance, more personnel to bring those numbers up.
And let's look at that number here real quick. That's 310,531. What's amazing about that, if we can pull that number up, is that this is actually that's actually a low number of the amount of arrests at the border. And is that in 2016 or is that for this year? I believe that's for this year. Okay, yeah, that's for 2017.
Now, last year it was in the 400s.
Yeah,
it was over 400,000.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing to me that 310,000 illegal immigrants arrested at the border is a low number. I mean, it really shows you just how big of a problem this is.
Well, when I was in, it's over 1 million. But we have to be cautious because the cartels and the human trafficking organizations watch everything that we do, and they plan accordingly. So when they see that we have low numbers on the border as far as Border Patrol agents, they will try and exploit that weakness.
Right.
That's why we need to have the wall to secure this nation and bring these numbers down.
And you said that when John Kelly, who was running the show there for a while before he took the job inside the White House, when he left, it emboldened a lot of the criminals and the people that are moving drugs into this country. And let me just clarify something real quick, because a lot of people take a lot of issue with the number of ICE arrests in this country and these ICE raids. And there's a lot of people on the far left that have a real problem with arresting criminal illegal aliens in this country. But that's what ICE does, right? They're not just going after, illegal immigrants in general. They're going after people that come here illegally and then commit a crime in this country.
Well, that's what the detainer program is all about. We're putting detainers on aliens that have been arrested by the local police departments for a crime of some sort besides the crime of coming into the United States illegally. Now, we put detainers on these people to move them out of the country. Did you know that last year over 8,100 detainers were declined by these agencies holding these criminal aliens? So 8,100 were put back out into the street to endanger people like they did to the Steinle family. The sanctuary cities are not sovereign nations. They are part of the United States, and they have to comply with the laws of the United States, including the U.S. Constitution and the laws that our U.S. Congress has passed. These cities and towns and counties that are under the sanctuary movement are not following the law, and they should be held accountable. In fact, they ought to be held liable for anything that their policies have done to hurt U.S. citizens.
All right, and you say the next step is the wall. We will see if that promise can be fulfilled here. It could be tricky. It's a very divided issue. Thank you so much, sir, for coming on this morning.
You're quite welcome.
All right. All right, spreading fake news on social media could soon land you in jail, at least if you live in Ireland. Lawmakers there proposing a bill putting restrictions for online political advertisements that require companies to display a transparency notice for purchased ads. Breaking that law could result in fines of up to $12,000 or up to 5 years behind bars. All right, using emojis could also be a criminal offense. A New Zealand judge sentencing a man to 8 months in jail after he sent his ex-wife, a message saying, quote, "You're going to expletive, get it," followed by an emoji of an airplane. The judge took it as a threat and charged him with stalking his ex-wife. In other cases, messages with emojis of guns, knives, and even bombs were taken as literal threats as well. So you got to watch what you text. All right, 19 minutes after the hour. Remember this, when a doctor was dragged right off of an airplane? It was a shocking thing to see, and even more shocking, new numbers on air rage incidents are coming up, and they are going up. And Rick Perry living his best life. Carly Shimkus here with the glamour shots that are going viral. I can hear her laughing from across the studio. That's this morning coming up. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back. Country over party. That message from Republican Senator Jeff Flake, who just donated $100 to Alabama Senate candidate Doug Jones, the Democrat. The move coming after President Trump formally endorsed and battled Republican Roy Moore. That was a controversial one. Carly Shimkus with Fox News Headlines 24/7, Sirius XM 115, here with the Republicans that are now firing back at this move by Flake.
Yeah, that's right. Good morning, Rob. Jeff Flake, who adamantly opposed Roy Moore, has put his money where his mouth is by donating to Alabama's Democratic Senate candidate Doug Jones. Now, the move sparked a fiery response from former White House chief strategist Steve Bannon, who mocked Flake's donation size during a rally for Roy Moore last night. Take a listen.
Let's talk about Jeff Flake. Did he sign a check today, $100 to Jones? Right? What do you say? Put country ahead of party? Come on, brother. If you're going to write a check, write a check.
Well, the embattled Republican candidate Roy Moore now using this as a fundraising opportunity. He took to Twitter saying, calling all patriots, pro-amnesty, big government Republicans. Senator Jeff Flake just donated to my pro-abortion, open borders, anti-gun liberal opponent. I'm asking for 100 grassroots conservatives to step up and reject the D.C. establishment by donating. Nebraska Senator Ben Sasse also weighed in. He says this donation is a bad idea. It's possible to be against both partial birth abortion and child molestation. Happily, most Americans are. So there you have it.
Yeah.
That back and forth.
This is a weird situation in Alabama, especially for Republicans. What do you do in that situation?
Yeah,
all right,
absolutely.
Let's go to topic 2, a little easier to talk about. Hillary Clinton on top of your Christmas tree.
Yeah, that's right. A Christmas decoration idea for all the Democrats in your life. A UK-based company has come out with a Hillary Clinton-inspired Christmas tree topper, complete with angel wings. A lot of folks on social media talking about this one. I don't think this Twitter user is buying it. He says the Clinton one, you can smell corruption right at the top of the tree. And another Twitter user says, that's it. I'm done. I quit the internet. Pretty pricey, Rob. I saw these going for about $120 on Etsy.com. Yikes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
You gotta really want one.
Let's go to Rick Perry sitting in the sand in Saudi Arabia.
That's right.
How about that?
Energy Secretary Rick Perry, he mixed business with pleasure here. He posed for a series of pictures during his trip to Saudi Arabia. We have them for you right here. Here is one where he is holding a falcon. There you have it. And I think we have just one more. Toes in the sand right there. So there you have it.
Ah.
So maybe he'll be a model in his next
Very
life.
quaint. Yeah, that could be his next move. All right, Carly, thanks so much.
Thanks a lot.
26 minutes after the hour, fight for firearms. The House poised to pass a concealed carry gun bill today. So is this common sense legislation, or will it just cause more gun violence? We debate it with both sides coming up next. The Department of Justice is now preparing to hand over FBI agent Peter Strzok's anti-Trump text messages as new details emerge about his role in the Clinton email investigation and also the Trump-Russia investigation. Todd Pirro here with the very latest. Everybody can't wait to see these texts, Todd.
There's a lot here, Rob. House Intel Committee Chair Devin Nunes demanded those text messages between FBI counterintelligence agent Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, an FBI lawyer with whom Strzok was romantically involved. Both were part of Robert Mueller's Russia team, but are no longer. House investigators have long regarded Strzok as a key figure in the chain of events from 2016, when the FBI received that infamous anti-Trump dossier and launched that counterintelligence investigation into Russian meddling in the election. Strzok also oversaw the FBI's interviews with ousted National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, who, as you know, pleaded guilty on Friday to lying to FBI investigators in the Russia probe. And it was Strzok who changed James Comey's draft language in the Hillary Clinton decision from grossly negligent, that's a phrase that carries possible criminal penalties, to extremely careless, a phrase with really no real legal implications.
Peter Strzok's at the intersection of all of these players in all of these investigations. And it was so bad that Mueller fired him months ago, but has not cooperated with the House Intelligence Committee. They were not providing the documents. They were not going to make them, except for now that it's in the media, we're not going to make them available. Devin Nunes, Trey Gowdy have been trying to get at this for a long, long time.
And Nunes has been assured those text messages will be turned over in the coming days. Rob?
It is very interesting, and changing that language, I think, is going to end up being a really big deal. But what about this other agent that they had? This guy was in the Russia investigation into Trump, and he had sent an email to, I guess, Sally Yates back when she was running the show, applauding her for not enforcing the travel ban. That's another very anti-Trump style message within the FBI.
I mean, look, as Americans, we are entitled to have our own opinions on things.
Sure.
But when you are working with the FBI on an investigation or investigations that are as closely watched as everything is right now, you may have these views, but don't put them in your DOJ email that can then be discovered in a litigation or a litigious situation like this. That's exactly what we have here in two different situations, and it really does raise questions about the underlings under Bob Mueller.
Yeah, it's a lot of politicization in that area right now, and Bob Mueller, it appears, is trying to do the right thing by getting rid of Strzok. So, all right, thank you so much, Todd. We appreciate that. Counselor. All right. Another dangerous close call at one of America's busiest airports. A packed passenger plane, I should say, nearly landing on the same runway where another jet was about to take off at JFK in New York City. A Volaris flight from Mexico was told to land on runway 13 left, but had lined up on 13 right instead. Air traffic control guiding the plane around the airport before anything happened. It could have been a real serious situation. This latest incident happening just 1 week after two planes clipped wings on the tarmac at JFK. One of those planes had to be towed back to the gate because of the damage. All right, incidents like these are on the rise on passenger planes.
What are you doing? Come on, lady, let's go. What are you doing?
You see it there. Airlines saying air rage is at an all-time high due to more drunk and violent travelers. According to newly released numbers, last year, airlines saw a 50% increase of people needing to be forcibly confined on a plane. That increase resulting in 169 passengers being removed from flights. Not a happy place to be on a jet these days. All right, the House poised to pass a bill today easing the burden on concealed carry owners crossing into states they don't have a permit in. So is this a good idea. Here now to debate this is NRA commentator Antonio Okafor and Democratic strategist Mustafa Tamiz. Thank you guys so much for coming on this morning. Mustafa, I'm going to start with you. There's a gun problem in this country. I don't think anybody denies that. But we have people here that are at least vetted to some extent by one of the states in this country that are legal gun owners in at least one state, taking guns into another state. Is that really the biggest problem that we have right now with guns? Is this really that big of an issue?
Well, that's the thing. Like, if we're trying to solve a problem that just makes no sense. Let's think about this. Right after the shooting here in Texas, San Bernardino, Las Vegas, Sandy Hook, the response that you're getting from the Republican Congress is to pass a law that allows people to carry a weapon concealed. And then there's also a silencer bill that not only can carry this way, but if that other bill passes, you'll have a silencer when you shoot someone. That just doesn't make sense. It seems really tone deaf.
Yeah, the silencer thing, I'm not sure too many people would agree with at all. And I just like the bump stocks with the Las Vegas shooting. I think that was roundly accepted as, why do we have these? Even Republicans said that. Over to you, Antonio. What do you say in response to that?
Well, I'd say first, it's not the silencer bill. It's a Hearing Protection Act, which they're not silencers, they're suppressors. So it just makes it easier for someone with a firearm to be able to go to the range and not have to worry about losing their hearing in a few years. So that's what, for one, that. But then also, the fact of the matter is that we're focusing on concealed carry owners. And those are law-abiding citizens just like me, just like average Americans who have this protection and this right that's protected by the Second Amendment in order to protect themselves, whether they are from Texas, like I'm from, or if they want to travel to Massachusetts, where I am currently right now.
Mustafa, what's your response to that? I mean, do we need some clarification here? Because some states are allowing people to carry a gun, and then you can drive right into another state and you can get arrested. We had one woman on a couple of weeks ago who spent like 50 days in jail.
Well, either we can, from the conservative viewpoint, talk about state rights, or we can talk about, states have no rights, and now we've got to have federal regulation that overrides different states. That's really not the direction we want to head in. This just doesn't make a lot of sense. The Republican members in the House are tone deaf as to what's going on in our country. We're seeing mass shootings, an epidemic of it around the nation, rather than trying to find ways to get people that have mental health illness, off of this, creating registries that allow people to, not be able to purchase a gun that have mental health issues. Instead, we're going in a direction of getting more people to carry more guns. The Republican Party is becoming the party of Donald Trump, Roy Moore, and guns. And that's just not where this country is headed.
Okay. Antonio, over to you. I mean, we're obviously not talking about, these serious weapons that have done a lot of the damage in this country, the AK-47s and such like that. We're talking about handguns here. Do you think this is overblown? Do you think this is a real problem?
Correct. Handguns is what we're talking about. So the National Reciprocity Act, first of all, this misinformation that's being spread by Bloomberg-funded groups like Moms Demand Action and Every Town is false. Is the fact of the matter is that it's not
we just can't blame that.
Let me finish. It's not going to gut state laws. You're going to keep every law. You have a law saying that you can have this certain type of requirement in order to get your license to carry in Texas. It's not going to override the law, say, in Massachusetts. What's going to do is that, for example, I'm from Texas and I have a license to carry. I can now, when I travel to a place like Massachusetts or California, with this act, enable me to be able to protect myself just like I can in Texas. Right now in Texas, I can have reciprocity in 35 other states. And it's just important that wherever I happen to be, wherever law-abiding, responsible gun owners happen to be, that they're able to protect themselves, especially women like me.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on this morning. This is a very tricky subject that nobody seems to know the answer to, especially politicians in this country. Thank you so much for coming on this morning. 38 minutes after the hour, getting justice for Kate Steinle. Brand new charges just filed against the illegal immigrant, acquitted of her killing.
And cities and states and businesses and universities and nonprofits have emerged as the new face of American leadership on climate change.
Former President Obama taking a shot at President Trump in a room full of his climate change critics. The brand new attack coming up. And a selfie ban on Instagram. The photos you are no longer allowed to share. We'll talk about that. All right, welcome back. The 5-time deported illegal immigrant just acquitted in the shooting death of Kate Steinle in San Francisco is now facing new federal charges. Kelly Wright joins us live now with the new indictment just handed down by the Justice Department. Kelly.
Rob, good morning to you. Following the acquittal of Jose Garcia Zarate and the killing of Kate Steinle, criticism of the verdict erupted, President Trump even speaking out against it, and Attorney General Jeff Sessions vowing to get the Justice Department involved. So on Tuesday, just days after Zarate was acquitted of murder and manslaughter charges in the sanctuary city of San Francisco, a federal grand jury indicted Zarate on 2 new charges. Attorney General Sessions last week blamed San Francisco's sanctuary city status for Steinle's death, saying the city allowed a man who had been deported 5 times back on the streets. Brian Stretch, U.S. Attorney of Northern California, San Francisco, clarified the charges in a statement. A federal grand jury indicted Jose Inez Garcia Zarate today for being a felon in possession of a firearm and ammunition and for being an illegally present alien in possession of a firearm and ammunition. Now, San Francisco's district attorney is speaking out about the case. After the verdict, he says his thoughts have been on the Steinle family, but he adds this, that he stands for his city's sanctuary policy and claims the case has been used by politicians for political gain.
The jury did their work, and we respect their work. We may disagree, but we respect their work. And I think it's important for the President of the United States to remember that this is a nation of laws. And part of being a nation of laws is that we respect the legal process, even when the outcome is one that we may be unhappy with.
During the trial, by the way, Garcia Zarate's immigration history of being deported 5 times was never allowed in the courtroom. And as for the new charges he's facing, if found guilty, he could be sentenced to 10 years in prison. Rob?
We, of course, will follow every bit of this case. Thank you so much, Kelly. All right, former President Bill Clinton launching a jarring attack on our commander-in-chief without saying his name. In a New York Times op-ed, our 42nd president saying there seems to be an increase of division, writing, quote, "We already see citizens being disenfranchised by the millions, targeted by race, ethnicity, and age, not because they are ineligible to vote, but because they favor inclusive, not tribal nationalism." Clinton's underlying message appearing to take aim at President Trump's Twitter use and his latest travel ban impacting a number of Muslim-majority nations as well as North Korea. Barack Obama, former President Obama, couldn't let Clinton have all the fun, though. Our 44th president taking his share of shots at our current president. Obama praising mayors at a summit in Chicago, calling them the new face of American leadership on climate change.
Cities and states and businesses and universities and nonprofits have emerged as the new face of American leadership on climate change.
No longer the president, he insinuates. Obama's comments centering around President Trump withdrawing the U.S. from the Paris Climate Accord. All right, should welfare recipients have to be drug tested in order to get food stamps? Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker is trying to make this happen. But is it legal and will it work? Legal expert Emily Campagno breaks it down, the pros and cons. It's coming up next.